And we start off right here in the country as the much anticipated wait by Kenyans on whether the government will reopen worship places has received a boost after a meeting between the government and religious leaders today at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development to deliberate on measures to be used in reopening. Cabinet Secretaries Mutahi Kagwe, George Magoha and Fred Matiang'i, together with the religious leaders, said they have agreed on a number of issues and will be submitting the report to the president today for further deliberations. The president is expected to address the nation tomorrow, and the content of today's discussion will likely form part of his speech. So we're crossing over to the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, where our reporter Eli Lugova is on standby so that he can update us more. Eli, good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, Linda. As you said, we are coming to you live from KICD here in Ngara. And a number of government officials, including Cabinet Secretaries of Education, that is Professor George Magoha, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, that is Dr. Fred Matiang'i, and of course Health CS Mutahi Kagwe, together with the church leaders from different religions, have been having a meeting here since 8 in the morning to deliberate on issues concerning the opening of churches and on how, of course, the protocols that will be used to observe, some of the measures that have been put in place by the Ministry of Health to ensure that the spread of coronavirus is contained even as the churches are reopened or religious activities are reopened. Remember, these activities were closed when the coronavirus, of course, the first case of coronavirus was announced in Kenya, and the government started coming up with measures, to ensure that they contain the spread of coronavirus. So one of the measures that they put in place was shutting down all religious activities. I know we've been having calls from different religious leaders calling upon the government to just consider reopening religious activities in the country. And remember, this meeting comes after the last week's meeting that the two parties had, that is the government and the church leaders said last week, and today, of course, they've had a meeting again. And just maybe to get to listen to what they said, maybe let us just get to and listen to what they had to say after the meeting.
Thank you very much, CS. We want to say, first of all, thank you to the government for reaching out to the religious community in consultation with regard to the pandemic and where it is and how it affects both churches and schools. We have had a very good consultation this morning. We have had presentations from professionals who have been working behind the scenes, monitoring how this whole thing is going. We have been given data on the same. And we, as the religious community, have also presented our position in terms of what we see from a spiritual perspective. And together, we have come up with what we believe would be a reasonable way forward, which will be presented to the president and his team, and hopefully a decision will be made that can help us move forward. The reality is, has been told to us, is that this pandemic is becoming endemic, and we have to find a way as Kenyans on how to live with it. And the reality that is coming to us is that every one of us must take responsibility. Bwana Mutahi Kagwe, the CS for Health, made it clear to us that unless we take responsibility, we may be here for a long time and in a bad way. And so we are taking care of that as a religious community and helping and working together with government to find a way forward that would be helpful to all of us.
Our very sincere gratitude to our religious leaders in the country. We've had a very consultative, excellent way of dealing with these issues. His Excellency the President has required of us that constantly, as we take decisions even on difficult policy matters, such as we are now dealing with in the wake of this COVID crisis, we engage and remain consultative, as we have done this morning. Secondly, I would like to sincerely thank some of our institutions of higher learning. The Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology School of Medicine, the University of Nairobi School of Medicine, the team from KEMRI, and most importantly, our security sector teams that sit at the command center, led by General Matili. This morning, we've had occasion to listen to these people who have data, who have projections, who have done modeling on how this is going and where it is headed. As Bishop Oginde has said, we have taken the advice and taken the notes, and we have now put together a report which we will submit this afternoon to His Excellency the President and the National Security Council.
Well, Linda, those are some of the sentiments that we've heard from the leaders here, led by Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the Interior CS, they have been having a meeting here, of course, to deliberate on those issues. And as he said, the report, the recommendations that have already been noted in that report, of course, as he said, it will be presented to the President this afternoon. And of course, we'll be expecting the President to include some of those recommendations. And of course, it's a story that we are following up on and will be bringing you up to date in our subsequent bulletins. So from here in KICD, Linda, I take it back to you.
Thank you so much, Eli Lugova, for that. And now we cross to some bit of politics as a section of Ford Kenya members, led by Kandui Member of Parliament Wafula Wamunyinyi, have submitted the required PP7 to the Registrar of Political Parties to verify the new leadership changes within the party. Now, the leaders have accused Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula of gross misconduct, saying he has been threatening some of the NEC or the NEC members.
To present to the registrar Form PP7, which has been properly filled in accordance with the law, with the required signatures of authorized officials of the party. As you are aware, this was a response from the documents we had filed earlier, and the registrar directed us to make corrections, which we have duly done. Our deputy chairperson in charge of internal affairs in the party, Luanda Oneko, and our Secretary General, David Eseli, have appended their signatures to Form PP7, which we have presented.
Now, out there, what's happening is our colleagues are actually sending intimidating statements and threats to the members of the National Executive Council who are part of the special National Executive Council that we held on 30th and 31st. And they are trying to intimidate them, trying to sort of coerce them that they sign affidavits denouncing what they did.
And as the number of COVID-19 cases rises in the country, truck drivers are on the spot. The government, through Ministry of Health, has deployed more health workers in Kakamega, Bungoma and Busia counties to test truck drivers. While addressing the press in Bungoma after meeting the Luya Bukusu leaders, Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa said that the government has taken measures to control the spread of the virus by decongesting the truck drivers' pile.
Kwa mambo ya COVID, tunataka tuhakikishie watu wa Bungoma County na Busia County. Kuna msongamano mkubwa sana wa magari. Tumetoka Chimoi, kuja Webuye, kuja Mavanga, all the way mpaka Malaba border. Leo tuko hapa na mwenyekiti wa kamati ya Senate, kamati ya afya. Na wakati tumekuwa hapa pia, tumezungumuza na waziri wa afya, Mutahi Kagwe, na tunataka tuhakikishie wakazi wa kaunti ya Bungoma, wakazi wa kaunti ya Busia, ya kwamba serikali iko inaongeza wale ambao watakuja kupima ili tutoe msongamano huu. Leo tunaongeza wale vifaa vya kupima, na kufikia jioni ya leo tuko na ndege inayofikisha hapa wale wataalamu ambao watapima watu 2,000 na ukihesabu lori 2000 hizo ni kilomita kadhaa, ili tutoe msongamano huu na tusihatarishe wakazi wa kaunti hii na kaunti ya Busia. Ugonjwa huu wale wote wamepatikana nao ni madereva hawa wa magari haya. Wa kwanza hapa walikuwa wawili, sasa county commissioner ametuambia ni 13 katika kaunti hii. Busia kulikuwa na wawili, sasa ni wengi kule Busia. Na hatutaki msongamano huu usambaze ugonjwa huu katika kaunti hizi za mipakani, na ndio sababu serikali kuu imetuma reinforcement. Siku ya leo ndege imetumwa hapa specially kwa hiyo team na vifaa to fast track mambo ya kupima na kutoa jam katika kaunti hii.
And Cabinet Secretary for Education, Professor George Magoha, is expected to address the media on the expected back-to-school reporter, and now educational reporter Andrin Kilemi is on ground and updates us, ready to, of course, tell us what would be the way forward or what is anticipated from this report. Good afternoon, Andrin.
Good afternoon to you, Linda. Currently, the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Professor George Magoha, is in a closed-door meeting with the members of the National Response Committee for Education that was set up to plan and reorganize the school calendar, which has been greatly affected by the spread of the coronavirus. Now, today he is scheduled to receive that final report from the committee. The committee was expected to advise him on ways of onboarding students and pupils once schools reopen. Now, as you are aware, Linda, there is anxiety in the country with parents, students, pupils, and even different stakeholders in this particular sector wondering when schools will reopen and under what circumstances, bearing in mind that the spread of coronavirus has been here for about 3 months now, and according to the Ministry of Education is that this particular pandemic might be here for a long time. Now, what we are currently doing is just putting our ears on ground and waiting to hear what the National Response Committee, in conjunction with the Cabinet Secretary for Education, are going to put out there for us as we wait for the President to address the nation tomorrow on the way forward.
Andreen, well, thank you so much for that. Indeed, so much anxiety and anticipation, as Andreen puts it, even as we wait for that crucial address tomorrow. And equally on matters education, like Andreen has promised, will be updating us later on a subsequent bulletin. So that aside, we go all the way to Busia, and a man in Busia County has joined the list of many more Kenyan well-wishers who have come out to stand by the country to the coronavirus windstorm. Okubo has volunteered to spray all trailers in Busia as a mitigatory measure against COVID-19, hoping to extend the gesture across the country. Now, Busia County is at the center of COVID-19 spread, with overwhelming positive COVID-19 cases, mostly from truck drivers. Thursday, the county had recorded 26 new cases, following Nairobi, which had 38, and Mombasa had 40.
Tukikaa kwa gari kwa njia na hii joto na jasho, honestly hizo vitu kama bakteria na nini zinajaja kwa gari, na pia lazima wanatoka kwa gari wana mix na watu, so nilikuwa nafikiria maneno ya kucontrol hiyo environment yao, at least wasikie kuna watu wanawaangalia. So nimefanya Nairobi police stations kama 20, alafu pande hii ya Budalangi nilienda mali kuna watu walikuwa affected na floods. Nikafanya Muliro University na Afrika, kuna kama watu 500 huko. Huwa nanunua chemicals zangu, sanitizers, fuel, lakini nataka kuambia wenzangu hapo kwa biashara kama wako, tafadhali tusaidiane kama mnaweza.
Yes, a good cause right there. And that very story is going to take us for a short breather. We'll be coming back with much more news, so keep it TV47. ultimatum to Kakamega Senator Cleopas Malala and his Migori counterpart Achilo Ayako to apologize for allegedly demeaning the union. Through their secretary, James Torome, said, of course, the union said it is lawfully registered and recognized by the Ministry of Labor, and therefore the senator's remarks that the union was deducting teachers' salary illegally were untrue, misleading, and unfounded. The Secretary General has threatened to move to court if the duo fails to apologize.
The union was fully registered by the National Labor Board on the 11th October 2012. Where it's just a distance of walking from Parliament to Milimani, where the registrar's office is located. I'm urging the Secretary General Kotu Francis Atwoli to take them to Tomboya Labour College for them to understand the labor matters.
Now let's cross over to some bit of the international scene. And family and friends of George Floyd